and welcome to this Credit Hound demonstration on behalf of Nolan Business Solutions. My name is Zoë Young. I'm an account manager here at Draycir, who are the authors of Credit Hound. So if you're joining me today on this webinar, it will be because you probably want help with the automation of your chasing emails. Now, the way in which Credit Hound will work is basically we've had a look at all the manual tasks that a credit controller would do, and you're probably doing your credit control in this manner. So maybe the first thing that your credit controller will be doing of the morning is running something like an age debt report. From there, they will then be probably putting this into Excel or printing it out. This is the place where they'll put all of their notes and things from. They're having to check Dynamics GP in order to see if any payments have coming in. They're probably writing manual diary reminders of when people are going to pay them, write letters in email, send them out, log disputes, all of these things that are all very tedious admin tasks. So the idea behind Credit Hound is actually to automate the majority of this work, meaning that it will be 80% chasing and actually 20% admin. So the way in which Credit Hound will work is I would actually use Credit Hound to do all my credit control. I wouldn't actually need to refer back to Dynamics GP because Credit Hound takes all of the information from Dynamics GP to put it all in one central location. This will mean I now have all the information in order to automate my chasing. So I can do this by setting up different rules and actions which will automatically send any letters or emails and also schedule reminders as well. Now don't worry, because I can do multi-level chasing. So therefore, based on an account grouping or a category within Credit Hound, or maybe using something like the class ID in Dynamics itself, I will be able to stipulate who I want to chase and when. So for an example, I might want to chase problematic customers far firmer and more often than maybe someone like a key account, and I can do that. The thing that Credit Hound can do is provide a to-do list to the credit controller. So this to-do list will actually remind the credit controller who to call and also, of course, how much is owed. The great thing about the to-do list, if there's anything in my to-do list which has been paid or if it's a dispute that's been resolved, it will actually disappear out of my list altogether. If you're a group of credit controllers and maybe one credit controller maybe is off sick or is going on holiday, I can actually reassign the tasks within my to-do list to another credit controller. You'll also find with Credit Hound there is a chase screen. So this chase screen will give a full audit history of either just the transactions that are outstanding or even historical paid for transactions as well. Therefore, as a credit controller, I can get a feel for that particular account and maybe how many times I've chased for the same transaction or a group of transactions within the same account. You'll also find there's dispute tracking within Credit Hound. The reason for this is because it automates the way in which it sends out its letters and emails, I probably do not want to send an email or chasing letter to an account that has a query or a dispute on a certain transaction. And that's why there's dispute tracking within Credit Hound. If you're using a third-party application or maybe there's other areas of Dynamics GP you want to bring through into Credit Hound, we can also look to bring through additional data into the Credit Hound screens. You'll find Credit Hound has its own reporting, so as you would expect with any software, there are lots of different reports, about 20 different reports which you can filter in several different ways within the Credit Hound package. All of the letters, emails, reports, you can change all of the wording and obviously put in all your own branding. We can also manipulate the reports that you're seeing, so anything you're seeing in the demonstration today can be altered. Now, Credit Hound uses another one of our products called Spindle Document Distribution in order to send out all of its documents. Therefore, what will happen, it will look in the customer card in GP to see whether they've got an email. If they have it, will send it by email. If it hasn't, it will simply print it out to your printer. Okay, so let's have a look at Credit Hound in action. So let's just open up Credit Hound. So this is what Credit Hound looks like. This is my dashboard. I am a credit controller, so this is all the information that I need to see. I can actually manipulate these if I want to. I can make them bigger. I can remove some of these screens if I want to, but as soon as I save it, this is exactly what I will see the next time I log in. So the sort of things that I'm seeing on my dashboard is, of course, my outstanding debt. So what I can do is, if I'm a group of credit controllers, I can either have this information, so it's solely for the accounts that I look after, or maybe we all look after all of the accounts. The information I'll be seeing on this screen will be apparent to the accounts that I'm actually looking out for. So this information here will be brought through by GP. My promised cash is actually generated from Credit Hound itself. So as I'm taking information from my customers of when they're going to pay, this will populate these fields just here. So if my financial director wanted to forecast how much money is coming in this week or maybe next week, I've got that information to hand. There's also a report I can drill down on exactly where these payments are coming from. I've also got my to-do list, and we'll come on to that later on. I've also got my mini age debt, which is important for me as a credit controller, as I'm targeted on this to see what my age debt looks like. I've also got a where's my money. So it's a bit of a traffic lights system. So red obviously being bad, which is overdue. I've got the value and the percentage of how many invoices that is. In green obviously being good, I've got what is not due, a value and a percentage. I've then got in blue what's not been allocated. So this is probably something like a payment or a credit note in GP that hasn't been allocated. And in yellow, I've got disputes. So these are disputes or queries that I've raised within Credit Hound. It doesn't look at the queries that you've raised in Dynamics GP. The other one that I have is Who's My Money. So I've got here, for an example, if I hover over Festival Homes, the reason Festival Homes is seen within this area here is because it's one of my largest balance accounts. So these are the ones I really want to keep an eye on. And I'm able to see a breakdown of what's overdue, not due, disputed, and not allocated within this area here. Okay then, so let's have a look at the main reason why people have Credit Hound, and that's all to do with the rules. So this takes away a lot of the manual tedious process that maybe your credit controllers are currently doing. So within here, I'm actually able to see all of the rules that I've pre-configured. Now, you may have a different chasing cycle. That's absolutely fine. You can edit these according to the chasing cycle you want to offer. So, for an example, the first thing that I want to do is send a preemptive letter to all my problem accounts. So I probably don't want to send these out to everybody. It may just be the accounts that are recurrently not paying. So if I press edit on here, you'll actually see how the criteria is made up, and I'm actually able to add or amend details within this area. So on the rule criteria, for an example, I can see the transaction overdue age criteria. I can actually edit that. So I've got a -5 days. I might want to do it 7 days before. So this will now look for transactions that are due in the next 7 days. And I simply just build up my criteria according to my chasing cycle for my business. Now I might want to add another field to it, and I can quite easily do that, and you'll see there's lots of configurable criteria that I can choose from. So I might already have in GP a class ID or field in GP where I actually stipulate what sort of account they are. So I don't have that at the moment, so I'm going to do this in Credit Hound, and you can do either. And I'm going to do that by choosing the account category criteria. So if I press OK to that, you can see I've pre-configured some account categories, and I've got one here called problem. So that's the one that I'm going to select because I only want this rule to pick up my problem accounts. Now let me show you in Credit Hound how to actually change the categories per account. So I'm just going to come out of the rules just for a moment, and I'm just going to click on my accounts list. Now, the accounts list here is either the accounts that I look after or all of the accounts, whatever it is that you want your credit controllers to see. I can change my columns within this area here, and I can add ones such as the category. So once I've added that column in, I can now stipulate which accounts are known to me as being a problem account, and therefore I want to chase them 7 days before their invoice is due. I simply do that by highlighting the accounts, and then all I'm going to do is change the category, which is at none at the moment, and I'm just going to bring through that category just there. Exactly the same might apply to a key account, as you may not want to chase them as much as everybody else. But you can clearly see now I have a category called problem. So now when I go back to my rules, I could actually run that rule and it will only look at the accounts that have got the word problem by them. So if I simply just press run, it selected these accounts just here. Now you might have seen when I edited the criteria earlier, there's actually an actions tab on the other side, and this is if a transaction is found with this criteria here, what is it you want Credit Hound to do? And in my example here, what I want them to do is to send a preemptive letter. So if I've already pre-configured 3 letters that are in Credit Hound, one being the preemptive letter, which is the one that I want to send out. So if I press run, these are the ones that it's found. I simply press OK. This will then generate a preview of the letter that's going to be sent out. I simply press print that to Spindle Pro Auto, which is actually going to send either email or send it to my printer if they haven't got an email, this particular letter. So if I just close that, for those of you who have already got Spindle Professional or maybe Spindle Document Distribution, you'll already know how great it can make an email look. So you can see here, Spindle actually produces this very, very, very professional looking email content. But also, here's the all-important chasing email. So it's entirely up to you what wording you want to use in here, but you can see it automatically picks up the invoice or invoices that need to be chased. If I'd previously used Spindle to actually send out my invoice, it will actually pick up the invoices related to that particular letter, making it really easy for everybody to pay. So I've done that very manually. I simply went into the rule, press run, previewed the letter and sent it out. However, with Credit Hound, that whole process can be completely automated. So here at Draycir, every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9:30, these letters are automatically generated. Therefore, it doesn't matter if our credit controller is on holiday or off poorly, these letters will still go out. So what I've done here, I've actually got another 2 chasing letters. So maybe for those people who haven't got the problem category against them, at this point here, they haven't received any emails. But if they haven't paid at a certain point, I need them to receive a chasing letter. The same would apply for those people that have received a preemptive letter but has still not paid between 15 and 22 days overdue. And again, by editing this rule, I can actually change the parameters of when it is that I want a letter to be sent out. And again, all I would do is simply highlight the rule, press run, press OK to this, and then the letters will be automatically sent out. Again, just to reiterate, that's the manual process. If you automated this, it would go out automatically. What I've done in my example is there's a preemptive letter to go out to the problematic customers. Then everybody will be sent an email or a letter if they are 15 to 22 days overdue. If they're still overdue at 30 days, they'll receive the next email. After that, what I've stipulated is that I want people, I want Credit Hound, to let me know who those people are. And in my case here, they're now 50 days overdue. So I'm actually not going to send them out a letter. I actually want a list of people that I'm going to call that fall into this category. Now it might be at this point here that you also include your key accounts, or it might be you need another rule in between these two, because your key accounts you may prefer to speak to them rather than actually sending them an email. So if I run this, I can see it includes all of these people just here. I simply press OK. Again, remember, if you've automated this, it will automatically happen. No emails have been produced, but if I go to my to-do list, I will actually find they've all arrived on here. So let me just change the date to today so we're able to see those. So at the very beginning, I was saying that if you're a credit controller, the start of your day is probably an age debt report. But actually, that's all changed now because Credit Hound does the majority of the work for me. So therefore, I can just come to this to-do list at the start of each day, and Credit Hound will tell me what it is I need to do today. And as you can see, I've got the word automated by all of these just here. And these are the people, either my key accounts or over 50 days overdue. So I know that these have probably all been chased in the past, but they still haven't paid. Also within this to-do list, you'll be able to find your callbacks. So these are probably people you spoke to, maybe last week, that said that they would pay by a certain date, which is today. They haven't paid, and therefore you can see the transaction is still here ready to be chased. The reason I know they haven't paid is because if they had paid, it would simply disappear off this list. So let's have a look. If I click into one of these, what happens? So first of all, it will give me a screen in order for me to see which transaction it is that I'm chasing. If, for example, I called them and maybe they weren't there, I just want to add an extra note on there. Maybe call after 2 p.m. or something like that. I could simply save that, and that will actually give me that information on this note just here. It might be that I needed to call them after a certain time and maybe I'm not there. So I could still leave a message for somebody else to call them, and I can actually reassign it to someone. So I know that Richard is going to be in after 4 o'clock today. If I save that, that will actually take it off my list, as you can see, and now Richard has got that, which is exactly how it would work if maybe I was on holiday, or maybe if I was off poorly. Or maybe you're a financial controller and you want to stipulate who does what work for the day. You can use it in exactly that way. So how do I see the chasing screen? So let's go into Festival Homes and chase the account. What I'm able to see within this area just here is all the information that has been brought through from GP. For an example, all of the outstanding transactions. I can clearly see on this particular account where they have promised me cash, because it says on this envelope just here. I've got the full audit trail as well for this transaction, so I can see they had my chasing letter 1. They then had my chasing letter 2. I've then got some manual notes. Obviously a phone call went out from myself, and this is what they had said. The next transaction, there's no audit trail, so I know that no chasing has taken place there. The next one has got a flag on it, so I know that there's a dispute on this particular transaction. So let's chase this particular transaction so you can see how to build up some information on the audit trail. Now down at the bottom I can see some information such as their address details, their contact details. I've got a mini age debt for them, their turnover, their disputes. But the chase one, this is the one that I'm interested in filling out for the credit controller. So in order for me to actually access this area here, I just need to press the start button. Once I do that, I'm now able to type within this area here. Now if I want to do some analysis on why people aren't paying, you can actually select the reason on why they weren't paying. So maybe the invoice wasn't found. Therefore I can select on that. Maybe at the end of a month I want to see the reasons why people aren't paying, and this is exactly where it picks the information up from. If I wanted to select more than one transaction, I can do. What that will do is duplicate the information I'm putting on here on both transactions, but it will also add it up for me as well, as you can see in this area here. So if I just deselect one, you can see how that has reduced now. So whatever the customer has told me, whatever notes I want to put in, I can put in here. When did they say they were going to pay by? So let's say it's going to be in a week's time or so. I probably know what time all the cash is generally put on GPPI. So if all of the funds are put on by 11 o'clock, therefore I'm going to put a note in my to-do list, 11:30 in a week's time. Now, if they promise you a certain amount of cash, let's follow that up with an email. So all I would need to do here is simply choose the automated email I'm going to send to them. Maybe they ask for a copy invoice. I can simply select this letter and it will pick up an invoice. You would have to have produced the invoice using Spindle prior to actually using Credit Hound in the first place. Maybe it's just a follow-up letter just to confirm what they had told you and when they were going to pay by. Or maybe nobody was there and you just wanted to send out an email to let them know you're trying to get hold of them. Whichever one that you've selected, all I will simply do is select it, press finish. It will actually come up with a preview of the letter, which I will send to Spindle Pro Auto in order to send it out. And I know that this particular one will be sent out by email. So let's have a look in Outlook at what that letter looks like. So again, we can change all of the wording in here if you want to. It's got a letter just to simply say, I spoke to you today, you said you're going to pay this amount of money for this invoice on this particular date. If I were to highlight two transactions, both transactions would be available to see just here. I've also got a copy of the invoice there, and again I'd just like to stipulate that is because I'd already purchased Spindle before using Credit Hound in order to attach that particular invoice. So as you can see, it's very simple to use. If I go back into Festival Homes itself, you will notice an audit trail has now begun for that particular transaction. Okay, so what happens if there's a dispute? As I said from the slides at the very beginning, there's actually dispute tracking within Credit Hound. So what I can do, I can add a dispute here. I can choose which dispute it was. All of these values here you're able to edit, remove or create new ones for. So let's go for something quite generic, such as the invoice discount isn't there. This will bring up a new screen for which I'm able to type in. So you know, the client might have said to me there was no discount, was promised 10%. And now what are the internal notes? So I can put any internal notes. Please, can you check the order for discounts? And once I've got all of that information in, what I now need to know, who is it that's able to help me resolve this particular issue? So I'm going to go for the sales director. And these are not people that have a Credit Hound license. These are just people that you have within your business that could potentially help resolve a dispute. You can send it to multiple people. I'm just going to send it to one. I can then fill out some resolution times and dates if I want to, so they will be on my to-do list. If I just press save and close, what will happen is I can choose to send out two notifications, one for the customer and also one internally. So what would normally happen is I've now probably had to go into Outlook, have some emails probably drafted up and actually send these out to everybody. Whereas with Credit Hound, it automates this process, making it a lot easier because of course you've already typed in the information in Credit Hound, so that's the information it's going to pick up. So as you can see here, straight away Maureen Duffrey at Festival Homes has had a notification just to say thank you very much for raising your query with us, and also who it's been assigned to. You're able to put that information in there. There's actually a letter a dispute notification, basically saying what was the matter with it, who it's been assigned to, and also which transaction it was for as well. At the same time, my sales director, Angela, if you remember, I assigned this dispute to her. She's also received notification of this. She gets to see both details of what the customer said to me and also my internal notes as well. So they have all the information in order to resolve this particular dispute. And that's the way the dispute tracking works in Credit Hound. If I revisit the chasing account, you can now see that there's an existing dispute on here with a full audit trail of everything that has happened. Now, within my rules that I previously sent out, I can actually stipulate not to send out a chasing letter if there is a dispute. So say, for example, I've got two disputes here on separate transactions. I've set it up so none of the chasing emails will go out. I've also chosen that if I put in a manual note, I've gone into this chase screen here and press start and put some information in here, I've stipulated not to send out a chasing email for 7 days. Okay, so the last thing to show you in Credit Hound are the actual reports themselves. There's roughly about 20 reports in total. All of these different reports can show various different things, and also you're able to filter in many different ways. So for an example, I'm just about to produce the transaction dossier. The actual report you're seeing, you can manipulate, maybe take out some of these subheadings if you want to. Maybe you would want to add your branding on here. You can export any of the reports in any of these ways, and also you can email in any of these ways as well. So there's lots of different reports for lots of different areas within Credit Hound, whether that's a dispute analysis, maybe you want to see how many disputes you've got of a certain value, maybe you want to see how many outstanding disputes there are, maybe you want to see the promised cash, so how did that value that you see on your home page, how is that built up, by which accounts is it made up from? So all of the accounts are very simple to run and you get all the information that you require. I won't go through all of them because there are 20 in total, of which they can be filtered in many different ways. So the user type that I've been using today is a full system user, which I would recommend for any credit controller. There's also other users as well, and I'm just going to go through those very quickly for you now. So the next user type that I've got is a BI user, or a business intelligent user. As I open it up, you will see it looks very similar to the full system user. So I still have a dashboard that I'm able to see. This is more used for managers, maybe financial controllers, financial directors. I can do every single thing that the full system user did. The only thing that I can't do is actually run the rules themselves. So I would have to have a full system user in order to do that. So I still get my dashboard, as you can see. I can still go into the account screen. I can still click into a chasing. So I can still go into the chasing screen as well for a particular account if I wanted to. One thing I can't do is also add information in this chase screen because of course the start button isn't there, but if I do need to add any notes, I'm able to do that in this area just here, but this will have no effect on the chasing cycle. So if you remember, if I put some information in here, I can stipulate to the rules not to send any information out within the next 7 days or however many days you want to. If I add a quick note just here, it has no effect on that cycle at all, so I'm able to do that. There is another user type as well. So the other user type that I have is called a limited user. Now a limited user was initially developed for somebody like an admin user maybe, or customer services, somebody that needs visibility of the account but not necessarily do anything with it. It's also very, very popular for salespeople. So maybe I'm going to visit one of my customers tomorrow. I just need to see what their account looks like before that, because of course if there are any disputes maybe on there or any outstanding invoices, I probably want to know about that before I go on site. So what I'm able to see straight away is an accounts list, and this can be an accounts list of just the people I look after. I can click in to see the chasing screen, as we can see here, and just like with the BI user, I can't make any amendments into this chase screen here, but I am able to add in a note exactly as the BI user did. And you can start seeing here that I can have a full audit trail of all the people that have made notes or done anything within this screen just here. So this way I'm able to see any disputes that may be outstanding, all of the chasing information as well in there. Okay, so that's basically the end of the demonstration. Thank you very, very much for listening. If you would like a quotation or if you want any more information about Credit Hound, if you could please contact Noland, they'll be able to help you with all of that. Or if you want to contact me directly, as I say, my name is Zoë Young at Draycir. I'm more than happy to take any questions. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.